Okay, where did it all begin? Um, I can remember when I was 9 years old. It seems like, I don't know, I used to always beg my mother to go to church. But something inside of me said there was more. There was some kind of searching since I was young. And I can remember my mom, because I always ask her, can I go to church? She used to send us, there used to be a bus that would come in the neighborhood, and I don't know what church it was, but it would take us to the, I guess it was a neighborhood church. I don't know where it was, but it would come in our neighborhood, pick up a lot of kids, and I really enjoyed it. And I could just remember all the stories they were telling us about Jesus and the cross and how to be saved. And I remember lying in my bed contemplating everything that I learned from the message, wanting so much to be connected, because I knew there was something more outside of the understanding that I had. I just always yearned for this connection that I didn't know where it came from, but I knew it was something greater. And I wanted to be close to God. I just wanted, it's just something that was inside of me that wanted to be right, because according to them, if I wasn't saved, I would die and go to hell. And so I thought, I said, it's just too hard to be here. It's just too hard to do this. I wish I was never born. I remember saying that as a child. And I told my mother that too. I said, this seems like this whole thing, trying to be saved. You don't know quite what to do, because they didn't have that particular church. They didn't have, steps. There was no steps. It was just, do this, or if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. If you better be good so you can be saved. And I thought, that's too hard. I mean, what if I think that everything that I'm all the doing and I still miss something and I go to hell? I just told my mom, I wish I was never born. And so I can remember always feeling, I was always a child that I felt like, I just didn't belong. I don't know, it was just something, no matter what crowds, because it wasn't like I wasn't in the in crowd, because actually I was, but I never felt connected to anything or any, I mean, I had close friends that I really loved, and they loved me. But I always still felt like, I just, that it wasn't my true, I guess, it wasn't where my heart was. I didn't feel like, I felt like an outsider, and even in the world of people who love me, I just felt like I was never quite connected to that. I just didn't feel like it, a lot of things that some of my peers would do, I just, I didn't want to do. Some things I participated in, but when I thought things, wasn't quite what I was into, I would just go home, or I wouldn't participate, or I'll do something else, and then I'll come back around, and things of that nature. And so I grew up always having this feeling that just something was not, there was a searching, really. Always trying to connect to the source. And back then, I called him God. And so now would be the what my friends called the goody two shoes. I would always say, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. They got so tired of it after a while. As I got older, I just learned to be quiet. I just kept it all in, because I found that I didn't have friends because I was, too nice. And so, to kind of fit in, I started fighting and doing all of that. But, to tell you the truth, I actually liked fighting. Now, that's one thing that I did like to do. And but I always had compassion later. You know, I always felt sorry for anything that I've done. I never tried to fight unless someone approached me with a bit of drama. And then I was really happy to oblige, you know, if I needed to. But I would try not to be, I wouldn't be the bully, you know, and I wouldn't try to, you know, go out of my way to do something wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some times where I did make those decisions and I learned. You know, the universe made sure they paid me back for all of that. But yeah, that's the story. And then, so as I got older, we went, my brother died, and that was a trauma, a really, really pivotal. I don't know if it was a pivotal in the sense of awakening type of thing, but it became, you know, the fear of death, um, due to my understanding. It just like it, all of us, you know, because we were kind of living a kind of more free type of life where we didn't think about God. My mother at that time, um, she was not going to church with us. She would send us to church. Um, and so it wasn't like we were in like a Christian home at that time. But after my brother died, that's when everything changed. It's like my mother went from, you know, a mother that would go and enjoy herself from time to time to a strict Christian. It was just like Bible scriptures on the refrigerator, devotions. I mean, it was like a 360. After the grieving, you know, it was almost like our whole family grieved over that alone. So we were all kind of going through our own little suffering at that time, and no one was able really to console one another. It's like we didn't know what to do. So everybody was kind of just left to themselves to heal, you know. Back then, it was taboo to do counseling in the Black community. You didn't hear about that a lot. The kids, you know, if they suffered, they just suffered. You saw a lot of suffering in the neighborhood that I grew up in. You know, I heard about our neighbor's child getting shot at around that time, you know, a little bit later after my brother died. And, you know, you just watch people suffer without any intervention. And so, you know, that's what we did. We just kind of went on and we didn't talk about it much. And it took a long time. It took a long time because I love my brother. He was like my best friend. And so, yeah, I couldn't understand any of it. At that point, I didn't mind if death took me. But I did have a experience that let me know there was more to all of this than, you know, we were taught. And it was like one day my brother came and it was just like as if I was talking, you know, like I am now. But of course the atmosphere was different, but it felt real. And he told me, Lynette, I'm okay. I'm not dead. You know, I'm still here. I'm okay. I'm not, you know, hurt. And, you know, that conversation that we had, he just kind of reassured me. And then I asked him a lot of questions. He answered it. I don't remember um, everything. But, you know, basically he just reassured me that he was okay, you know, that he's still here and I should go on and, you know, I shouldn't suffer, you know, too much about it. Try not to think when I think about him, remember him, you know, as he is, you know, when I saw him. And, you know, that really helped me. It was almost like I could move again, you know. So at that point, that was after the funeral, and I just laid in that bed. They were just moving me around, you know. I cried so much. I don't remember. I can't even hardly remember the funeral because all I knew that as soon as I saw his body laying in that casket at 9 years old, everything that came out because I didn't understand death, you know, and it wasn't real to me. And then when I saw his body lifeless, that's when it, you know, in a sense, became real. And so, yeah. And that, I have to say, that experience really did make me want to be closer, to really find the truth. I didn't have the answers, I didn't know. And I had another experience. Um, Really, was it before or after that? It was after that. And my brother said he had a similar. I asked him the day after that, and he said he had an experience almost similar. I didn't talk about it too much. But there was another being which I, you know, because of the love, I just assumed it was Christ. I just when he um, when he came to me, it was just like I dropped to my knees, because of all the love that I felt. It was so overwhelming. And it was just words of comfort, and peace and love, because at that time, at 9 years old, I had fell into a depression. I mean, that's all you can call it. It was just a deep, dark space where I just could not, you know, it was just hard. Like I said, our family wasn't talking about it too much. We were all suffering by ourselves, and I just felt like, that just nothing mattered anymore. And if I died, it would be okay. And it was, again, comforting. Just an extreme love, just the feeling of just, wow, It was just love. That's all I know. That's all I can remember, is just the peace that just came over me. And it was so powerful. It was so much that I just dropped to my knees. And I just remember talking again, and being comforted. And then, and then it was like, again, after that, it was just like that I didn't have any more visits, and I really didn't need it anymore. I still couldn't talk about my brother much, but I could at least move on, um, you know, without extreme suffering. I could talk to people, because at that point I had stopped talking to my friends. I wouldn't go anywhere. And at 9 years old, that's kind of different for a child, to just go within myself, basically. And the outside world meant nothing. But then after that, I started going back outside and playing again, and talking with my friends, and things of that nature. Let's fast forward it. So yeah, I always felt like the outside cool kid, because I still had a lot of friends, but I just didn't feel really connected. And I never really liked to do a lot of, I did things, like fighting and things like, but I didn't enjoy being mean, or having to really defend myself, because in our neighborhood, if someone brought it to you, you're supposed to defend yourself, or you would be teased for being, weak or whatever. So, I made sure that I was always ready in that sense. And so, as I grew up, we started, like I said, my mother changed, and she decided that she was going to be, start going to church. We went to the Church of Nazarene, and it was fun. We learned all these stories, had vacation Bible schools. She forced me to be in a choir, which I can't sing. I don't know why I was in the choir. I mean, I can't sing. Can't hold a note. I don't even hear tones well. But I was there, and but it was still fun. We had peers, but I just felt like, I don't know, I was confused there. I just felt like, okay, now what is the actual steps? Because when you look from an egoic standpoint, you want something, you can just, to be sure, I wanted that control, and to be sure I made it into heaven, And so, excuse me, later on, After that, my mother remarried, and that went from a household of 4 to like a household of 8. Then my sister moved on, and then my brother moved on, and then it was just like 5 of us, And of course, it was infighting. We were trying to blend 2 families, and he was Church of Christ. And if anyone knows Church of Christ, it's strict. If you're not doing it, in a certain way, then you're going to hell. I mean, you're not following the rules. That means you can't skip a step and still make it in. And so, yeah, and that felt more, I had more control over that. I felt like, okay, now I got the steps. Now I can, really make good decisions. I mean, I feel good about being able to have the 5 steps to salvation, and now I know that at least if I do these 5 steps, I'll get in, treat people kind, I'm already, a compassionate person, even though I wasn't, perfect, I felt like, I try, to do my best, because that's all, I could do. I can't say I was perfect. So it's hard for me to give myself compliments in that sense, because what is really good and bad? I mean, anyway. So yeah, and so I felt more comfortable, and it was a beautiful place. That the church that my mom's husband was in, and then I moved later on. I was married down there, but I had a divorce, so I wanted to move out of small Wichita, Kansas, and go to big city Houston, Texas. And my job, what I do, physical therapy, kind of transferred me here. So it was exciting, in the church here. I met my husband here. And the church here, was beautiful. I enjoyed the people and all of that. But there was still something that just seems like, well, let me not skip over there. I was a Sunday school teacher. I, volunteered. I did all of that stuff. But as I was going along, it's just like, I don't know, I had an awakening, or something was happening. Something was weird. It was the night of the dark. So how they say it, where you're going through like a trans, it's almost like no matter what I did, it felt like it wasn't translating in my life. I don't know. I always had prosperity and things of that nature, because I always believed that, what I did, I gave. And so I was always giving. And of course, the universe was giving back. God was blessing me in so many ways. I never had to really struggle. I had ups and down times. I had a lot of drama in the relationships that I had. But in the sense of abundance, I felt, God has always, been there. And, but it just started, everything just started to get close in on me. I don't know. It was just a feeling that something's not aligned right. Something's not right. And the more I pushed, because it wasn't anything I could put a finger on, because if you looked on the outside, I was reading my Bible every day. I was praying. I believed in what they were telling me, But it was like something was just shaking it up. It was like something, I just remember one day I was sitting there, I was like, what in the world is going on? And I started getting more anxiety for some reason. It just started growing and growing. I got to the point I could barely talk to people. And I was just sitting there one day, and I remember being in a class. It was like a couples class, and it was almost just like the walls were just closing in. It was like I was there, but I wasn't there. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. It's all I can think of. It was just like, I was observing everything. but I wasn't present. You know, it was like I was just observing, but I was present, but I wasn't, I was watching the body, you know, just observing, but I wasn't a participant, more to say. It was just weird. I don't know. It just threw me into like a journey of knowledge. And so I started reading all these things. I came across this Hebrew channel, and he was giving history, and I was like, this history I never ever came across. What is he talking about? The Hebrews and naming off all of these different, and so that sent me through another, you know, rabbit hole. So I end up leaving the Church of Christ, and I started delving into Hebrew. And they were teaching all these laws, and that we were special people, and, you know, all this stuff. But then the leader, out of nowhere, just died of that particular gathering. And so it just left me with myself. And that was another pivotal moment. Now, that was a pivotal moment where I was like, you know what? One thing he said to get rid of the ego, you can find, you know, the truth of yourself. And that stuck with me. You know, he always talked about getting rid of the ego so you could see clearly. And so I told myself, well, if it's something I need to get rid of, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to dig down deep. And because I want this understanding for myself. I'm tired of looking on the outside, and everything that I did on the outside seemed to always come up short. It was never fulfilling. It always sent me back almost where I got started, you know, or just another rabbit hole, and then just another story and another story behind that. And that's what I just felt like. Everything was a lot of stories, but it's not translating, because why am I still suffering? Why is there still confusion? Why am I still hurting? Why do I have anxiety? You know, why does my outside doesn't reflect the beliefs that I have? And so I just, then I saw this book by, called, what's it called? The Story of a Yogi by Rama. Oh my goodness. I'll have to put it up here. I can't say his long name. But, and I read that and I thought, what is this? And I knew it said something about an ego in there, and about the source, and a lot of yogi techniques, things, you know, that I just a different perspective, but something just was a pulling in that. And I said, well, what is this meditation stuff? Let me, you know, just sit with myself. And I don't know, it was not something I was really looking for, but my heart was pulling somewhere, you know, and it was interesting, intriguing. So I kept reading. I read the whole book, and I just enjoyed it. I really did. The stories in there, and I said, well, you can do all this stuff, you know, and I was still in the Hebrew faith at this time. But, so I would just start meditating. And one day I had just a different experience. It was just like something woke up. It was like nerve endings. And now, I didn't know what it was then, but I think they call it some kind of Kundalini rise. I don't know. But it just seemed like everything in my chakras, just all this energy. I mean, it was energetic. When I say energetic, it was just like, and I was thinking it was my third eye opening or something, you know. I was like, oh wow, this is, you know, cool. And, you know, but it was almost like something that would just waken, like almost if you turned on the computer and, you know, you have electricity just dialing up everything. And that's when I knew that, yeah, we were not, that something's off, because why come I didn't get taught this? You know, this is part of me. It wasn't like something was molesting me or coming from, trying to take over my spirit or anything. This was my own body reacting in a way that I didn't know it could. So that told me that, oh, there's something more than the conditioning that, I've been taught. There's something more, you know? Why, when I'm meditating now, I'm having all these sensations. And, yeah. And so, I went from that. And then one day I was, looking on the internet, and when just scrolling, and I saw ego. That's what I saw. And then I saw this picture. And the weird thing about it, the picture looks like me. It looked like somebody that I knew forever. But it was a face that I haven't seen before. But when I looked at it, my heart knew. It was just like, them. Almost like if I was looking at myself. I saw myself, basically. So I clicked on it. And the way he was talking was just, I couldn't understand. I have to say it. I couldn't understand anything. But I knew it was something I needed, that would help, and so I just kept listening. It was so unfamiliar. It was so left side. It was so unlike anything I've ever heard. I don't even know what they were talking about. They were, and then people were getting up and saying what their experiences are, and they weren't really talking in normal language. I mean, like, you would just say, okay, my arms hurt or whatever. No, it was like, yeah, when I wake up, it would be something like, the mind, and, there's a lot of racing. And then, it was just, and I was like, what in the world are they talking about? And then he talked about the ego. He says, it's the person you think you are, and all of this stuff. And I knew that, and I said, this resonates. It just started resonating. It started sitting with me, because I knew that the ego was something, that a fictitious character that we've all, been conditioned to believe that we are, like this body, like it's us. And so I kept listening, and what got and then over time it was less confusing. I actually knew. And then one day he was doing a meditation, and I was walking around. I wasn't sitting down for the meditation, but as he was going through everything he was talking about, I was like, okay, that is right. Your thoughts, they do come and go, and all of this stuff. And it just started hitting home. And I was like, wait, is this it? The chattering that, we have constantly in our mind, that's not normal. And, all of this stuff. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was just like I cried when I realized that is who we are. We are that connection of life. I just felt it in my heart. And as he was going through this, it just resonated through me. And it was like just my whole body. There was a peace, and there was a love. Something that it just came rushing in, like the rivers flowing, when he was talking. And I knew, that's when I knew that was what I was been searching for ever since I was 9 years old. This home, this feeling of home just came in while he was talking. And it was so powerful. His name is Muji. And, I mentioned him on my channel a lot, because Muji is, and I've never met him personally, but I heard him say one time, the person who starts it needs to finish it, basically, you know. And he did that. He brought me on home. I mean, I've never met Muji, and one day I will. I know I will, physically. And but yeah, he brought me home through, you know, and that's how powerful, you know, the connection, because we are all connected. So there's no separation between us all. But Muji brought me home. And in that moment, I knew. And from that moment, I knew. You know, it was like, this is home. This is that missing piece. This is the truth. This is the source of all life. And yes, after that, of course, the mind came back in, and I was like, oh, trying to, you know, grab onto it like straws, before I realized you don't have to grab onto anything that you already are. You know, it's just the recognition that needs to be there. And so this is my journey. You know, it's a journeyless journey, but I navigated through religion, you know, and that's okay, because I think, you know, every one of us come from different experiences in our lives, and some may be religion, some may be different, you know, atheists, or any walks, you know, any paths. And there's no right way to get to home. But when you get to home, you know, it's not like a celebration, because anything that celebrates, you're not really there. Then that's the ego being like, yeah, I did it, or I know it, I finally got it. There's no finally getting it. And you know, sometimes on the path, I mean, when you're trying to reveal yourself or find yourself again, sometimes you know, you'll feel like there's supposed to be an event, you know, some big event. So you're kind of scared. It's like, you know, like, I don't know, it's something like going into a dark room that you don't know, you've never navigated. And sometimes that's what, you know, that your mind will try to play with you, like, you know, you want to go forward a little bit, but you're scared. You go back and forward. You kind of play this game for a little bit, you know, and, but yeah, it's no event. It's just one day there will be a recognition. And then the experiences after that, initially, it was like a bliss, because you're not used to being light. You're not used to not carrying all this worry. And when that finally is unveiled, your true nature is unveiled, it's light and it's filled with love. And that's a sensation your body's just not used to. And it is kind of healing. It's like whenever you heal, even like when there's a wound, you put a knife in it. It's like you put a knife in it, and you're cutting, and it goes to, starts to heal. There's tingling. You have sensations that happens before the pain completely goes away. That's the same thing, you know. It's like these vessels been carrying a lot of weight, heaviness, sorrow, pain, confusion, drama, you know. Then we get light again, it's almost like it's remolding. I don't know. It's just this flow of love and bliss, and oh my goodness. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, I just didn't know I can carry all this, you know. I mean, or just it's too much to take. But it's a wonderful experience, you know. So thought I'd go through that. My camera is blinking off. Maybe it's because it's I don't have enough. I don't know. I do need to delete some videos that I've had on there. So maybe it's time to go ahead and shut this video down. But I wanted to talk about the story, because I'm sure a lot of people, you know, I don't talk about me much. And there's a lot that I left out. A lot. And I think it's good to be transparent sometimes and let you know, take a look on how did I get here. And so, but yeah, It doesn't matter where you start. All it knows, the only thing that matters is that we are all here. You know, we are all here. And no matter what the journey looks like or what standpoint that you're coming from or perceiving from right now, we're still here. It doesn't matter whether you're in recognition of that or not. You know, I was always thinking, oh, I need to hurry up because I don't have much time. I don't know why I thought time was running out. I didn't realize, you know, myself didn't realize there's no time. I mean, what are we rushing for, you know? But that's the egoic mindset that you need to do, you know, to get this. You got to do this, now do that. And yeah, you go through some of those stages where you're just trying to grab onto everything. But what I learned is just let go. The biggest lesson is to just let go. That's hard when you know, being a control freak. You want to control everything, to let go. Whoo, yes. When you do, man, you were like, man, I just was sabotaging myself, really. Didn't want to let go, but it's all an experience. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, remember that you are beautiful, and I love you. Bye.